Hey everyone, welcome. On this channel, we're going to get into an advanced look at the story Disastrous Necromancer. Come with me as we unravel the journey of Lin Moyu, from his beginnings to him becoming a force to be reckoned with in a mysterious new world. If this story sounds like something you'll enjoy, please like, share, and comment. Your support helps us keep providing these in-depth looks into the world of Disastrous Necromancer. Now let's continue.
What's up, guys? First off, I want to apologize for the radio silence over the last few weeks. My schedule has been completely slammed, but the hiatus is officially over, and I am back in action. We have a lot of ground to catch up on, so I don't want to waste any more of your time. With that, let's continue.
Shengguang insisted that Lin Moyu's help was not needed and appeared confident. Lin Moyu did not press further. He simply became a bystander, watching the battle between the two races. Countless insects rushed out from the bone-corroding sea, all blocked by the elemental dragons. Although the number of insects far exceeded that of the elemental dragons, their combat power was far inferior. Eventually, they were all wiped out. Then the bone-corroding sea began to shrink rapidly. At the center of the bone-corroding sea, a huge bubble was forming. Shengguang's expression changed slightly. The insect mother is coming. It's my turn to act. Brother Lin, be careful. The insect mother is very dangerous. Lin Moyu replied, don't worry about me. I have the ability to protect myself. He had already sensed the power of the insect mother, which was at the Saint Venerable level, just like Shengguang. But so what? Even if a Saint Venerable wanted to kill him, it wouldn't be that easy. He was just a bystander now, not participating in the battle. The mere aftermath of the battle wouldn't affect him. Moreover, he could observe the true combat power of the insect race. Years ago, his consciousness had accidentally connected to the insect mother, almost getting injured by it. However, that insect mother didn't seem to be the one in front of him now. Lin Moyu was unfamiliar with the insect race and didn't understand their composition. He only knew a little from Antares, knowing that the insect race was a terrifying race. Now he also knew that the insect race was not from the great world but from outside it. Shengguang, cloaked in radiant light, approached the center of the bone-corroding sea and breathed out a thick dragon breath at the bubble that had expanded to its limit. The holy dragon breath fell on the bone-corroding sea, causing thick smoke to rise. Countless mists danced in the starry sky, forming cloud-like objects. The bubble burst, and a massive insect with thousands of tentacles flew out. The insect had hundreds of wings on its back, each incredibly sharp, with a wingspan of over 10,000 meters. Thousands of tentacles, as sharp as magical weapons, danced in the starry sky. Where the tentacles passed, the galaxy shattered, and the starry sky was torn apart with cracks. The bone-corroding sea rapidly shrank, returning to the insect mother's body. Lin Moyu then realized that the boundless bone-corroding sea was actually released by the insect mother. Shengguang and the insect mother clashed, their immense power wantonly raging in the starry sky. All the elemental dragons retreated, not wanting to be caught in the aftermath. So this is the insect mother. Its abdomen is quite large, probably filled with insect eggs. Lin Moyu observed the insect mother, analyzing various possibilities. The insect mother's power was very peculiar, not originating from the great world. At this moment, Lin Moyu also noticed that Shengguang's power seemed special. Although his attacks contained light laws, they were somewhat different from what Lin Moyu knew about light laws. Lin Moyu suddenly realized, so, the dragon race is also not from the great world. Like the insect race, the dragon race was not from the great world. Lin Moyu had a hypothesis. No wonder the dragon race chose to be bystanders regarding the invasion and changes in the great world. Because they were not creatures of the great world, they naturally didn't care about its survival. The dragon race were the true bystanders, watching for millions of years. However, the dragon race had existed since ancient times. Even when the human race was at its peak, they acknowledged the existence of the dragon race, indicating the dragon race had other significance. Like the insect race, the dragon race was shrouded in mystery, making them hard to understand. Perhaps one day, when he was strong enough, he would know everything. Shengguang and the insect mother, both Saint Venerables, clashed, their battle's aftermath tearing through billions of miles of starry sky. Lin Moyu stood amidst the aftermath, his purple-gold body shining brightly, blocking all impacts. Some elemental dragons around him looked at Lin Moyu in surprise. The dragon race had strong physical bodies, and they could feel that Lin Moyu's physical body was no weaker than theirs. One by one, the elemental dragons were curious about Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu ignored their gazes, focusing on the battle between Shengguang and the insect mother. Shengguang fully unleashed his combat power, suppressing the insect mother. The insect mother constantly resisted but was still suppressed. Finally, a huge phantom appeared behind the insect mother, showing a massive insect nest filled with countless insects. The insect nest trembled, and countless insects flew out, pouncing towards Shenguang. This is its rule world. Lin Moyu was slightly surprised. The insect mother had unfolded its rule world. Shenguang let out a dragon roar, and a world also appeared above his head. The world was filled with radiant light, holy and pure as snow. This was Shenguang's rule world, looking sacred and noble. Clusters of white light flew out from the rule world, exploding in the starry sky. In an instant, it seemed as if countless white stars appeared in the starry sky, making it as bright as day. Under the holy light, the insect mother let out a sharp scream. The sound was extremely unpleasant, carrying a soul impact, causing the elemental dragons to show expressions of pain. The gap between Saint Venerables and high-level Divine Venerables was immense. Even a soul impact was hard for them to bear. Only Lin Moyu, also possessing a Saint Venerable level soul, was unaffected. Seeing the elemental dragons roaring in pain, Lin Moyu drew a rune with his hand. High-level rune, soul stabilizing rune. Its function was to stabilize the soul and reduce external soul impacts. Lin Moyu didn't know if it would work, but he tried anyway. Soul-stabilizing runes flew out, exploding in the starry sky. Each soul-stabilizing rune could cover a large area, and the elemental dragons within its range showed reduced expressions of pain. Although they still had to endure the soul impact, it was much more bearable. It seems to work. Lin Moyu continued drawing soul-stabilizing runes, scattering them in various areas. He multitasked, drawing faster and faster, sending out soul-stabilizing runes like snowflakes. The elemental dragons protected by the soul-stabilizing runes cast grateful glances at Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu didn't feel much. He just acted according to his conscience, regardless of anything else. Shenguang and the insect mother fought for half an hour, their rule worlds clashing until a victor emerged. The insect mother's rule world began to dissolve under Shenguang's holy light. The insect mother screamed even more frantically, but it was futile. It seemed unable to escape its final fate. Suddenly, the insect mother's body began to swell. Shenguang's urgent voice rang out, "Run, it's going to self-destruct." A Saint Venerable's self-destruction was terrifying. All the elemental dragons immediately flew away, fleeing for their lives. Lin Moyu had experienced a Saint Venerable's rule world self-destruction before and knew its terror. He also fled. But after glancing at Shenguang, Lin Moyu made a decision. Although he was fleeing, he moved in the same direction as Shenguang. Without the use of space laws, Lin Moyu's speed was not as fast as Shenguang's. The gap between a Saint Venerable and a Divine Venerable was immense. The three-light talisman on his body lit up, and Lin Moyu's speed suddenly increased, catching up with Shenguang. Shenguang shouted, "What are you doing here?" Lin Moyu smiled, "I'm here to help you." Boom! A strong explosion shook the starry sky, shattering it. The insect mother's body and its rule world exploded together, transforming into a green sea that swept out. The green sea carried terrifying corrosive power, even corroding space itself. Shenguang was enveloped in white light, resisting the green sea. Lin Moyu took out the golden sword. The runes on the golden sword flashed, weaving a huge shield that protected him from all angles. Lin Moyu and Shenguang, closest to the insect mother, bore the brunt of the impact. The other elemental dragons were relatively better off, using all their strength to protect themselves. Space completely shattered, and spatial chaos erupted, with Shenguang being the first to be swept into it. This was the moment Lin Moyu had been waiting for. With the space laws shattered, the laws were restored. The insect mother's self-destruction not only destroyed space, but also destroyed various restrictions. Originally, the dragon race had sealed off space to prevent the insect race from escaping, but now it was all destroyed in the insect mother's self-destruction. The Saint Venerable's self-destruction triggered turbulence in deep space, which even Saint Venerables found difficult to resist. The first to be swept in was Shenguang, who was closest, and the second was Lin Moyu, who had deliberately moved closer. Lin Moyu had experience with deep space turbulence, and with his mastery of space laws, he knew how to deal with it. Fully activating space laws, combined with the effect of the three-light talisman, formed a weak space-time power, giving Lin Moyu some room to maneuver in the space turbulence. Shenguang had already been swept away by the space turbulence, his huge body tumbling in the chaotic flow, temporarily losing control. Lin Moyu came to his side. Despite their vast difference in size, Lin Moyu used all his strength to materialize a giant hand and firmly grasp Shenguang. "Go!" With a shout, he he fully unleashed his laws and threw Shenguang out of the turbulent deep space. At the same time, he took several steps himself to escape the turbulence. Lin Moyu didn't stop there, rushing to another area to pull back several other elemental dragons that had been swept into the space turbulence. Fortunately, the elemental dragons had been far away at the time and had fled quickly enough, so not many were swept into the turbulence. Shenguang stabilized himself and watched as Lin Moyu pulled back one elemental dragon after another. He knew that being swept into space turbulence likely wouldn't result in death, but where one would end up was unknown. They might end up at the edge of the world, millions of light years away. He was a saint venerable and might be able to return. But for those divine venerables, once they lost their way, it might take thousands or tens of thousands of years to return. Though not life-saving, Lin Moyu's actions were certainly helpful. Combined with the earlier help from the soul-stabilizing runes, the elemental dragons all looked at Lin Moyu with goodwill. At least they acknowledged Lin Moyu. The aftershocks of the Saint Venerable's self-destruction gradually subsided, and the shattered space began to repair itself, though the repair process was slow and would take some time. The entire starry sky was still in a chaotic state, with spatial turbulence and spatial rifts everywhere. If a weaker divine venerable came here, they might be affected or even injured. Shenguang's body was enveloped in brilliant light. Within the light, his body rapidly shrank, eventually transforming into human form. Lin Moyu was curious why Shenguang had changed into human form. And how he did it. This clearly wasn't the first time, as the whole process was very smooth and natural. Even after transforming into human form, he was already dressed. Even if he could transform himself, surely the clothes couldn't transform too. The clothes fit perfectly, as if tailor-made, and were very luxurious, embroidered with many divine dragon patterns, seemingly flaunting his status. In human form, Shenguang was handsome and tall, standing at 2 meters. Except for a pair of dragon horns on his head, he looked entirely human from head to toe. Lin Moyu looked at Shenguang with a strange expression. Shenguang smiled and said, "Don't be surprised, you might understand in the future." Clearly, this was another matter that couldn't be discussed, and Lin Moyu didn't bother to ask further. Since learning that the dragon race was not native to the Great World, Lin Moyu had many speculations about their origins. The most likely scenario was that the dragon race, like the insect race, came from a world outside, and not one that had been conquered by the Great World. It was just unclear in what capacity they had come to the Great World. The dragon race had existed for so many years, seemingly always watching the development of the Great World. Lin Moyu had already probed Shenguang before, asking roundabout questions and obtaining some information to support his guesses. Now he asked again, "Senior Shenguang, what exactly is the world outside like?" Shenguang, in human form, waved his hand, "Don't call me senior, I like you. In our dragon race terms, you're very much to my taste. Let's call each other brothers. If you don't mind, call me Big Brother." Lin Moyu immediately changed his form of address, Brother Shenguang. Shenguang laughed heartily, "Good, Brother Moyu. As for your question just now, Big Brother can't tell you. If you want to know, go out and see for yourself. Big Brother believes you definitely have a way. If not, wait until I become a divine dragon, and you still have." Shenguang didn't continue, but gave Lin Moyu a meaningful look. Lin Moyu understood immediately, knowing that Shenguang was certainly under many restrictions and couldn't say certain things. However, from his words, much information had already been revealed. First, it confirmed Lin Moyu's guess that the dragon race indeed came from outside the world, and they had their own purpose for coming to this world. Moreover, Shenguang believed Lin Moyu could go out, and even if he couldn't, when Shenguang became a true divine dragon, he would have a way to take Lin Moyu out. Shenguang had also obliquely mentioned Antares. Without naming names, just a look was enough for Lin Moyu to understand. Shenguang meant that with Antares around, Lin Moyu didn't need to worry about whether he could leave or not. Lin Moyu looked at the tens of thousands of elemental dragons around. Can all members of the dragon race transform into human form? Shenguang shook his head. At least Saint Venerable Realm is required. Lin Moyu understood. Shenguang was surrounded by rule power, and the human transformation was related to rule power. Moreover, the rule power couldn't be too weak. Other shore realm wasn't enough, it had to be Saint Venerable. Rule power flowed around Shenguang's body, silently forming a barrier that prevented their conversation from spreading outward. "Brother Moyu, listen to Big Brother. This world has no hope. You'd better make plans early." Lin Moyu's eyebrows twitched slightly, but he feigned ignorance. "Why does Big Brother say that?" Shenguang lowered his voice. "I can't tell you the specific reasons, but what I can tell you is that this world has lost its future. In at most 1400 years, this world will face a world-ending crisis. You need to cultivate to the other shore realm as quickly as possible. Let me calculate the time. By then I should be close to advancing too. At that time, even if that person hasn't come out, I can take you away. 1400 years, wasn't that the time when another world would collide with the Great World? The dragon race actually knew about this, clearly knowing far more than Lin Moyu had imagined. Lin Moyu asked, only 1400 years left? Shenguang said, that's right, 1400 years at most. No matter what method you use, you must reach the other shore realm within 1400 years. With your cultivation speed, little brother, it shouldn't be a problem. Lin Moyu's cultivation speed was very fast, far beyond the understanding of anyone in the Great World. Anyone who knew Lin Moyu's age would be incredibly shocked. Shenguang knew how long Lin Moyu had been cultivating, but he was only slightly surprised. It seemed he could accept Lin Moyu's cultivation speed. At the same time, from his words, Lin Moyu felt that using 1400 years to cultivate from Divine Venerable to other shore realms seemed to be acceptable to Shenguang. If others heard this, they would definitely think it was a fantasy. Who could cultivate from Divine Venerable to other shore in just over 1,000 years? Is the cultivation speed in the dragon race all this fast? Lin Moyu thought to himself, while continuing to ask, but there are several Saint Venerables in our human race. Can't they do anything? Shenguang shook his head, Saint Venerables are useless. They'll all die when the time comes, not one can escape. This world will be destroyed. Except for a few people, everyone in this world will die. Shenguang had already sentenced the Great World to death in his heart. The Great World would have no more hope, and everything would come to an end. When the time came, except for a few people, everything in the Great World would perish. Whether human or other races. Whether Divine Venerable or Saint Venerable. Everything in the Great World would be erased. The few people he mentioned were those who had obtained Dragon Soul Crystals before. From 3-colored to 9-colored Dragon Soul Crystals, as long as someone had obtained a Dragon Soul Crystal, it meant they had gained the recognition of the dragon race. When the time came, they would have the qualification to live, while others could only wait for death. Lin Moyu asked if there was still a chance to save the Great World, but Shenguang firmly answered that there was no chance. Lin Moyu didn't argue. He knew Shenguang wasn't talking nonsense, but from his perspective, the Great World truly had no future. He wanted to get more information from Shenguang, but Shenguang began to keep his mouth shut and said no more. He had already said too much and couldn't say any more. In fact, he shouldn't have said even this much. He was willing to tell Lin Moyu mainly because he liked Lin Moyu and felt they had a connection. Shenguang reminded Lin Moyu again to reach the other shore realm within 1400 years, then left with the dragon race. Watching them disappear into the starry sky, Lin Moyu stood there with a flickering gaze, muttering to himself, Brother Shenguang, what you know is not everything. Someone has already foreseen the future of the Great World and made arrangements. That person is someone even Heavenly Venerables fear. He said the Great World still has a future. Besides this, Lin Moyu had another thought in his heart. I also believe the Great World still has a future. His belief was unshakable. He didn't think the Great World was doomed to destruction. Heaven never seals off all paths. There was still a glimmer of hope. Lin Moyu believed that anything could have a turning point. It just depended on whether one could find that turning point. He summoned the warship again. The warship's surface had many cracks from the previous impact, but fortunately, it hadn't affected the internal arrays. The warship could still navigate in deep space without any issues. Lin Moyu summoned a set of sigil arrays from the treasure ship's storage. These were the arrays he had personally drawn to refine sigil artifacts. Flames burned fiercely at the center of the sigil array. Lin Moyu used the array to envelop the warship. Then he began to draw numerous sigils to strengthen the warship. With the experience of repairing and strengthening the golden sword, Lin Moyu's technique in strengthening and repairing the warship was much more proficient now. Sigils flew out one by one, landing on the warship, then being imprinted into the warship through the refining flames of the sigil array. The warship's shell originally had an array, set up by Old Flame, but its defensive power wasn't very strong. Now Lin Moyu added a completely new sigil array on top of the original array. The combination of the two arrays directly increased the warship's defensive power by a level. Even if attacked by an other shore realm being, the warship could at least withstand a few hits, giving Lin Moyu enough time to put it away. At present, this warship was still very useful, or rather, the space array inside the warship was very useful. With his space law, Lin Moyu could enter deep space on his own, but he didn't yet have the ability to navigate quickly in deep space. If he waited until his space law became stronger, not to mention using space gates, once he could move freely in deep space, he could discard this warship. The warship became Lin Moyu's second sigil artifact. He had given it a shell, making it a semi-finished product. After finishing, the warship was covered in sigils, looking more substantial. He activated it again, entering deep space, flying towards the inner domain space. This trip to the outer domain space was considered successful for Lin Moyu. He had originally been worried about whether Red Star Supreme would be willing to help, but Red Star Supreme was not only willing but also mentioned the 10,000 star Grand Array. Later, he encountered the dragon race and learned some secrets. The secrets of the Great World seemed to reveal another tip of the iceberg. Next, I need to focus on cultivation and increase my strength as much as possible. In 1400 years, I not only need to reach the other shore realm but also try to reach the Saint Venerable realm if possible. If my talent hasn't weakened, perhaps I could fight a Supreme one-on-one, which could also share some pressure. The gap between Saint Venerable and Supreme was huge. Lin Moyu didn't know if he could challenge a Supreme across realms once he reached Saint Venerable. Perhaps he could, perhaps not. Either way, he had to try to know. In fact, Lin Moyu had another plan, but for now, this plan couldn't be implemented. If the plan succeeded, then not only would the Great World not perish, but there might even be a chance to devour that world, plunder its origin, and find an opportunity to establish a new divine path. But for now, that plan was still far off. At least he had to wait until he reached the other shore realm. Besides cultivation, I also need to prepare some backup plans. In case Red Star Supreme is wrong, and there are more than 10 Supremes in that world. Or if the 10,000 star Grand Array isn't effective enough, we must have backup plans to deal with it. Lin Moyu considered many possibilities. He couldn't put all his eggs in one basket. As they got closer to the inner domain space, the Starlight Law began to become more active. Starlight refinement started operating again, refining starlight and condensing stars. The stars illuminated his soul, making the form of his rule world more complete and powerful. When it came time to truly construct his rule world, he would have a higher chance of constructing a perfect level rule world. A perfect level rule world was one of the foundations for ascending to Heavenly Venerable. If one couldn't even reach the perfect level in their rule world, there was no hope of becoming a Heavenly Venerable, even if they understood the virtual and real and saw the essence of the world. The mysterious master had told Lin Moyu that constructing a perfect rule world was very important and could not be neglected. Lin Moyu now somewhat understood the true purpose of the World Tree Fruit. It allowed one to give birth to the form of a rule world at the Divine Venerable realm, enabling people to come into contact with the rule world earlier and perfect and strengthen it. This laid a solid foundation for constructing the rule world in the future. With the form of the rule world, it was equivalent to opening the door to Saint Venerable. As long as one wasn't too unlucky, entering Saint Venerable was a certainty. Unfortunately, the World Tree Fruit matured too slowly. So far, there had only been one, which he had eaten. Lin Moyu examined his soul world and already had some ideas about the rule world he would construct in the future. As his horizons continued to expand and improve, his ideas about the rule world also kept changing and improving. Initially, he had only thought of using the undying law to construct a rule world that was half gray and half white, half life and half death. Later, after understanding the virtual and real and seeing the true world, he felt he should add virtual and real characteristics to the rule world. After obtaining Saint Sigil Heavenly Venerable's inheritance, he wanted to add various sigils to the rule world to evolve countless possibilities. Now, after seeing the Boundary Sea, he had a new understanding of his rule world. Lin Moyu felt he was being a bit too ambitious and somewhat unrealistic. But the brief experience of the Boundary Sea kept surfacing, making him feel he must do this. He even had an even more absurd thought. Perhaps the rule world is not limited to perfection. He felt that there might be higher levels of existence for rule worlds. Since it was a world of rules defined by humans, why couldn't he define it himself? Just as he was lost in thought, a series of mournful calls entered the warship. Fight 100 battles and die 10,000 deaths without regret, the soul returns to the old land but cannot rest in peace. The voice was tragic and stirring, shaking people's hearts. The runes on the warship flickered brightly, and its speed became slower and slower. The tragic voice disturbed space, turning the entire space into a viscous state, making it difficult for the warship to fly. Lin Moyu was startled awake, feeling an indescribable sadness. Not just sadness, but also a heavy pain within the sadness. That kind of pain felt like someone was gripping his heart, preventing it from beating. Though not as painful as soul pain, it was even more uncomfortable. What happened? Lin Moyu controlled the warship, leaving deep space. The warship rose, and Lin Moyu saw a tall mountain. He was in the mountain forest. The mountain was over 1,000,000 kilometers high, beyond even Lin Moyu's eyesight. The appearance of such a high mountain in space was unimaginable. Lin Moyu maneuvered the warship towards the mountaintop, but the warship could never reach the true peak. Every time it was about to cross the peak, it was blocked by an invisible force. This force seemed like an array, but was different from an array. Lin Moyu felt somewhat familiar with this sensation. After thinking for a moment, he knew where he had entered. He had entered a rule world. The border he touched was the edge of the rule world, the world barrier, also called the world screen. With his current abilities, it was difficult to break through. Is this a Saint Venerable's rule world, or a Supreme's rule world? Lin Moyu thought to himself, if it was a Saint Venerable's rule world that would be fine, but if it was a Supreme's, that would be much more troublesome. Fight 100 battles and die 10,000 deaths without regret, the soul returns to the old land but cannot rest in peace. Fight 100 battles and die 10,000 deaths without regret, the soul returns to the old land but cannot rest in peace. The tragic voice echoed in the rule world, making people's hearts ache more and more. Lin Moyu endured the discomfort and depression, flying in another direction. After passing the mountain before him, he saw an even more shocking scene. Mountains, countless mountains, tens or hundreds of thousands of mountains, forming an ocean composed purely of mountain forests. The warship flew through the mountain forests, which seemed endless, spanning billions of miles, comparable to a galaxy. This is a Supreme's rule world. Lin Moyu sighed, his expression not looking good. A Saint Venerable's rule world couldn't be this large. Only a Supreme's rule world could reach this scale. As for whether it could be a Heavenly Venerable's rule world, Lin Moyu thought it unlikely. This rule world had already lost its vitality, clearly left behind after death in battle. Although Heavenly Venerables also fought in ancient times, there were no records of any Heavenly Venerables dying in battle. Lin Moyu could only pray this was a Supreme's rule world, not a Heavenly Venerables, otherwise it would be even more troublesome. The warship flew for a long time without reaching the edge. Lin Moyu tried sending out skeleton divine generals to explore this rule world, just like exploring a secret realm. The skeleton divine generals flew in all directions, quickly sending back information. The skeleton divine generals discovered some unusual places. Lin Moyu immediately rushed over, helplessly finding that his space law had failed again. In the rule world, all rules were set by the master of the rule world. Plus, his mastery of space law wasn't very strong, so it was normal for it to fail. Lin Moyu arrived at the place where the anomaly was discovered. He saw a tombstone. Words were carved on the tombstone. My name is Yuan Hao, a divine venerable of the human race. Accidentally fell into this realm, searched everywhere but found no way out. Cannot cultivate in this realm. Every 10 years there is a rainbow absorption event, absorbing flesh, realm, and lifespan. This venerable is unwilling to let thousands of years of cultivation become someone else's wedding dress, so I end my life here. Erecting this tombstone as a warning to future generations. If you can find a way out, please help bring my body back and bury it in human territory. Lin Moyu sighed after reading the tombstone, surprised to find it was the tombstone of a human divine venerable. Through the tombstone's record, he could roughly deduce what had happened. Divine Venerable Yuan Hao had entered the outer realm to explore, but accidentally entered this place. He didn't know he had entered a rule world, and no matter how he searched, he couldn't find a way out. Moreover, every 10 years there would be a rainbow absorption phenomenon here, absorbing flesh, power, and lifespan. He believed someone was absorbing and devouring him. After many times, he might fall from Divine Venerable, unable to maintain even his realm, eventually falling to God King, True God, until death. For someone who had cultivated to Divine Venerable, this was naturally unacceptable. So with no other options, he chose suicide and left this tombstone. The tombstone was both a warning and a last glimmer of hope. Hoping that one day, someone could bring his remains back. After all, he was a Divine Venerable. His remains wouldn't decay even after 100,000 years. But when Lin Moyu looked, there were no remains here. There were no creatures in the surrounding forests either. No beasts would have eaten his remains. If there were beasts, he would certainly have mentioned it on the tombstone. No beasts. Lin Moyu's eyes showed a hint of relief. This should not be a Heavenly Venerable's rule world. The reason for this judgment was that Heavenly Venerables could already create living beings. Though not creating from nothing, they could at least fuse and create new species of living beings. So Lin Moyu was 90% certain that in a Heavenly Venerable's rule world, there would definitely be strong vitality. Strong vitality would give birth to various weak living beings. The appearance of beasts and such would be correct. Not being a Heavenly Venerable's rule world, Lin Moyu relaxed a bit. He reached out his hand and grabbed, causing soil and rocks to fly. There was nothing under the tombstone, no remains. The remains are gone. A divine venerable's remains couldn't vanish into thin air. Even after 1,000,000 years, there would still be remnants. Now that the remains were gone, it could only mean that the rainbow absorption mentioned in the tombstone didn't spare even the corpse, absorbing it until not even dregs remained. Rainbow absorption, what exactly is it? Lin Moyu thought to himself. At this moment, the skeleton divine generals sent news again, making another new discovery. Lin Moyu immediately rushed over. This discovery was larger in scale, a group of houses built from trees. There were over a dozen houses, with traces of habitation. Judging from the style of the houses, those who lived here were not just humans, but other races as well. However, now the people here were all gone. Lin Moyu searched house by house, finally making a new discovery in one of them. On the wood of this house, a large number of words were recorded, in human script. This time the text was more detailed, with accurate time records. The person who carved the text was called Du Jung'an, a human divine venerable who had reached divine venerable rank 7. About 2,000 years ago he accidentally entered this realm and tried every means but could not leave. In the 3rd year after he entered, the rainbow absorption appeared, absorbing part of his realm. Because he was a high-level divine venerable, his perception was more obvious. About 100 years of lifespan was absorbed, and his realm dropped somewhat. A divine venerable rank 7's lifespan was at most over 5,000 years, and he was already over 2,000 years old at the time. In other words, he would die of old age here after just 30 rainbow absorptions. Later he discovered that even 30 absorptions was optimistic. As the number of absorptions increased, his realm kept falling, and his lifespan was also falling. He could at most endure a dozen absorptions, about 100 years. In these 100 years, he encountered some other divine venerables who had accidentally entered this place. Some were human, some were from other races. They died one by one due to the absorptions. He finally ended his own life when he was about to fall from divine venerable. Du Jung'an's records made Lin Moyu feel a chill down his spine. His words were filled with despair. He was the last to die among these people. The others either died due to the rainbow absorption or couldn't bear it and ended their own lives. All those who came here were divine venerables. Regardless of their race, no one could accept the fate of their realm falling and becoming a cripple. Lin Moyu checked other houses but found no records like Du Jung'an's. However, there were traces of life, indicating that the people here were filled with despair at that time. What puzzled Lin Moyu the most was that during the decades they were here, these divine venerables from various races did not engage in large-scale fights but lived peacefully together. This was very unusual, especially for races like humans and demons, who were sworn enemies and would not coexist peacefully under any circumstances. Even when facing a life and death crisis, they would first fight to the death upon meeting. Could there be some restriction on fighting here? Lin Moyu's heart stirred, thinking of a possibility. He had a skeleton divine general attack the mountain forest. The attack was not strong, less than 1% of the skeleton divine general's full power. 100-meter tall, 10-meter thick tree was split in two by the sword energy, falling with a roar. Here, any mountain was so tall that its peak couldn't be seen, and its width was hard to estimate. The mountains were high, and the trees were large. In the mountain forest, a 100-meter tall, 10-meter thick tree was just a sapling. Here, trees hundreds of meters thick and so tall their tops couldn't be seen were everywhere. With a roar, the tree fell, and then there was no further movement. Lin Moyu looked at the wooden houses, which were also made from large trees. It seemed they hadn't encountered any trouble at that time. Could it really be possible to coexist peacefully? Lin Moyu naturally didn't believe such nonsense and issued another order. The skeleton divine general used half its strength to unleash a stronger attack. A massive sword energy blasted out, hitting the mountain forest. The mountain was blasted open with a huge hole, and countless large trees were blown away. Although this wound was nothing to the entire mountain, and even more insignificant to the entire mountain range, in Lin Moyu's view, the commotion was already very intense, even causing the ground he stood on to shake. Moments later, the shaking stopped, and apart from the huge pit on the mountain, nothing else happened. Could I be wrong? If fighting were allowed here, it wouldn't be possible to coexist peacefully. Lin Moyu still didn't believe it and issued a new order. Two skeleton divine generals suddenly fought each other, attacking each other. This time, they still used half their strength, which wouldn't be enough to kill each other. As they fought, the rule world finally reacted. A roaring sound came from the sky, and then two unimaginable forces descended, accurately hitting the two skeleton divine generals. The two skeleton divine generals were instantly pinned to the ground, unable to move, unable to even stand up. Lin Moyu understood. In this rule world, one could attack the mountains but not other living beings. Lin Moyu tried several times, having the skeleton divine generals use their full strength to attack the mountains. The mountains were blasted full of holes, and countless giant trees were destroyed, but there was still no punishment. Only the two skeleton divine generals that had fought earlier remained pinned to the ground, unable to move. After understanding the rules, Lin Moyu felt even more puzzled. Why is it like this? Such rules must have a reason. Lin Moyu knew that everything had cause and effect. If he wanted to leave here, he had to find the cause and effect. But with the information he had now, it was difficult to find the correct cause and effect. Over countless years, many people must have entered this rule world, but no one had ever escaped, at least no humans had. If someone had, there would definitely be records in the Human Emperor's network. Those who died here should have left some information in their despair. This information might be helpful to him. The rainbow absorption occurred once every 10 years. He didn't know how long it would be until the next one. Lin Moyu didn't know if he could withstand the rainbow absorption. After all, this was a Supreme's rule world, and he wasn't confident. Even if he could withstand the rainbow absorption, so what? He couldn't sense any laws here and couldn't cultivate. Eventually, he would die of old age here. It was just a matter of time. Moreover, he didn't have much time to waste here. If he delayed for 1,000 years, it would be too late when he got out. I must find a way out as soon as possible. Lin Moyu sent out more skeleton divine generals to explore. This world was too large. He had been here for half a day, and the skeleton divine generals had only explored a tiny fraction. Determined, Lin Moyu sent out all 5 billion skeleton divine generals to explore in all directions. The map of the rule world gradually became clearer, and finally, there was a new discovery. The skeleton divine generals found a curvature while flying, leading Lin Moyu to guess that this rule world was an enormous sphere. A spherical rule world was normal, but this sphere was excessively large, larger than a galaxy. Its diameter was unmeasurable. The skeleton divine generals spread out, flying in a grid pattern to avoid missing any traces. Finally, there was another new discovery, and Lin Moyu rushed over immediately. It was an enormous stone tablet. The stone tablet was tens of thousands of meters long and wide, square, made from stones from the high mountains of the rule world. The stone tablet was covered with numerous inscriptions, written in various languages of different races. Lin Moyu had studied the languages of various races and could understand most of them. Reading the inscriptions, Lin Moyu found that they recorded the experiences of divine venerables from various races who had entered this place. The inscriptions contained the insights of these divine venerables. They had also explored but ultimately failed to leave, though they made some discoveries. They recorded their findings on the stone tablet, hoping that future generations could leave this place. Unfortunately, until the most recent record from 500 years ago, no one had succeeded. The last record was left by a human divine venerable 500 years ago. From the stone tablet, Lin Moyu felt despair again. Despair mixed with unwillingness and hatred, the resentment left by each divine venerable. Each divine venerable who ultimately couldn't leave left their resentment in the inscriptions, and their bodies were gone. Fight 100 battles and die 10,000 deaths without regret, the soul returns to the old land but cannot rest in peace. The tragic sighs echoed in the rule world, making Lin Moyu frown uncomfortably. It wasn't physical discomfort but an emotional one. His emotions were affected by the tragic voice, causing intense fluctuations. These intense fluctuations affected his calm thinking, making him feel despair. Those divine venerables who chose suicide in the end probably did so under the influence of this voice. Lin Moyu felt the voice had intensified since he entered, not because the sound grew louder but because the emotions within it became stronger, as if they were about to explode at any moment. Suppressing his inner discomfort, Lin Moyu carefully read the inscriptions on the stone tablet, trying to stay calm. The inscriptions show that fighting is indeed not allowed here. Any fighting will result in punishment. So here, no matter how deep the hatred, it must be set aside. Currently, apart from the rainbow absorption every 10 years, no other dangers have been discovered. Not discovering doesn't mean there aren't any. Just like those divine venerables couldn't find a way out, it doesn't mean there isn't one. Lin Moyu pondered, glancing at the sky unintentionally. In the sky, at some unknown time, a crescent moon had appeared, a blue crescent moon, exuding a sense of eeriness.